Dietrich Mateschitz. He has such a hard name to say.
He does.
I don't even know what nationality he is. Did you find that out?
Austrian.
He's Austrian, not Australian.
Yes.
Austrian. Okay.
So
that would make sense where he ends up starting his business. But he starts out in the early 1980s. He's visiting Thailand. He's in Thailand and he's jet lagged, and he hears about this tonic that would cure jet lag. So he makes his way to the gas station. He gets some of this tonic. He drinks it, and sure enough, 20 minutes later, his jet lag is cured. So he happens to know the gentleman who makes this tonic, right? So he goes to Khalil's house. Khalil is the guy who makes the tonic.
And is that tonic, is that the Krating
Dang?
Okay.
So Krating Dang is the tonic, and Khalil is the owner of the said tonic, and it's only distributed in Thailand. So Dietrich goes to meet Khalil. He says, "Hey man, this cured my jet lag, and I think this could be a big hit in the West. So why don't you partner with me? I'll put down $500,000, you put down $500,000, and I will market this over in Europe."
Okay, so before that, though, wasn't this guy a toothpaste salesman?
Yeah, so he's a toothpaste salesman for a cosmetics company. He's 38. I think he's 38 at this time, 1982. And he quits his toothpaste job once he decides to partner with Khalil.
Okay.
So he just abandons all. He says, "I'm done selling toothpaste," quits that, partners with the guy with Krating Dang, but first thing he does is obviously translate it to something that would be more received easily in the West.
Okay, so what did Krating Dang mean?
Krating Dang means red gar.
Red gar.
So red gar is like bison.
Okay.
Over in Thailand. So the equivalent for us would be Red Bull. So that's what he ended up naming his energy drink, was Red Bull. And then he also carbonated it. He takes it to Germany, West Germany, to launch it. But the German government wouldn't let him sell it because it had taurine in it. And the German authorities didn't know what taurine would do to someone if they drank it. They knew it was a natural occurring substance in the body, but they didn't know what would happen when you ingested it, and so they wouldn't let him make it and sell it.
So this Red Gar / Red Bull, it had caffeine in it.
Yes, caffeine.
It had taurine
Yes.
in it, and then lots of sugar, or some sugar
Yes.
at least. And then didn't it have like some kind of a B vitamin or something?
Had B vitamins and had some other things in it, but the other things are so vague and there's such minuscule amounts. It's really just to add to the allure, and it's to add to the mystery and the danger of the drink. So he has these ingredients that there's no reason to have them in there because there's no proof of what they do, if they do anything.
Okay.
But he has them in there anyway in the most minuscule amount, but then advertises them real big, like there's a large amount in there. So people think, "Oh, this has something to get me amped that nothing else has."
Gotcha.
So this guy, he's got a pretty good idea. But what's crazy is how rocky of a start he gets, because in West Germany, like I said, they wouldn't let him market it. They wouldn't let him sell it. Wouldn't even let him get started. So he eventually gives up and goes to Austria, which is where he's from, right? As you know, and he starts making it there, but it takes them, they're the same way. They don't want to approve it because it has the taurines, but they're willing to go through tests and scientists and things. And now that he's back in his hometown, he's more willing to go through the process.
So they're basically using like human guinea pigs and stuff like that, testing it.
Whatever their method is, right? Here in America, we test it on rats and then we test it on humans, and then there's a whole process. Anyway, it gets approved, but it takes 3 years.
So this is now 1987, correct?
Yes. So we're now in 1987. So after he makes it, he has this taste test, or this focus group. He goes and hires this little focus group to do a taste test of the drink. He says, "This is my drink," and the gentleman giving the exam, everybody tastes it, but all the test participants nearly unanimously thought it tasted terrible.
Okay.
Nobody likes this drink. And then finally the guy that's giving the test looked at him and says, "Man, no one likes the taste of your drink." And then they tell him the price of the drink.
Okay, which was what?
The price, so a soda was 50 cents.
Okay.
But he was selling his for $1.25, more than double what a soda went for. And the guy giving the test tells...
Yes, Dietrich.
Oh, yeah. He tells Dietrich, that, man, I've never seen a product fail this badly. You got to change something. The flavor, the formula, you just abandon, do something else. But he's not detoured. He said, you know what? Nope, people will understand. It's not about the taste. It's about the way it makes you feel. It's about curing the jet lag and giving you energy.
So basically, this guy had taken everything that he had. He had given up everything that he was, including a toothpaste salesman.
Yeah, he needed this to work.
He's invested everything he has to really propitiate that this thing goes forward. That's unbelievable that he would know that it doesn't taste good, but still believe in what it does for you.
Right. Yeah. So he goes ahead and launches it, even though it failed miserably in the taste test and the review. The price was terrible and the taste was terrible. Nobody liked it. So he launches it in Austria and gets it into some stores, but it's hardly selling because it is expensive and nobody's trying it. Mm-hmm. It's more than double the price of a soda. So,
no. Before you go there, didn't he have quite the time, even just trying to get a logo and a slogan?
Oh,
and
yeah,
all,
right. He had one of his friends. He contacted his friend and said, "Hey, man, I need you to market this. I want you to create a logo and a slogan." And it took him several months because he was very particular, and he kept turning down his friends. Said, "No, that's not good enough. Not good enough. Not good enough." Finally, he came up with two bulls charging each other, and he with a sunset in the background, and that's when Dietrich said, "That is the perfect logo. That'll work." Okay. And then that same guy also came up with the slogan, "Red Bull gives you wings."
Okay, so basically he was relying on a friend's generosity to really help him in his branding.
As far as my research goes, his friend did it for as a favor. He did it for free.
Woo! Thank the good Lord for those freebie marketers.
So it's in Austria stores, but it's not selling. And he's getting desperate, but not desperate enough to change the formula or lower the price. He gets so desperate that he decides to give it away. So he goes to parties, these nightclubs and parties, wherever he goes, right? Mm-hmm. And he starts giving away the Red Bull. And then suddenly, sales start to creep up.
Okay, so the sales are creeping up. It's not tasting good, but he's
not tasting good still.
But still
expensive.
He's giving it out to parties and nightclubs and places like that. And was his purpose in doing that because it would extend the party? Is that kind of what the philosophy and thought?
That's what he stumbled upon. Is people were drinking the Red Bull, they had more energy, and the party would last longer. So they would do their alcohol, do the Red Bull, and then they started mixing the alcohol in the Red Bull, and it became some very popular drinks at the bars. And so the bars and the nightclubs would order the Red Bull to mix into some of their drinks, and they have these specialty drinks.
So I heard that, and I don't know if this was, I may be skipping ahead here, but I heard that at one point they were mixing, I believe, vodka and a Red Bull mix, and they were charging $18.
Right there. The numbers I saw, once it made it to the United States, it was anywhere from $12 to $18. Yeah, that's right.
Unbelievable.
Per drink.
Okay, sorry, I skipped ahead.
Yeah, so, and then the next thing he does, now that he has some sales, he starts sponsoring sports events. So sports events, he just wants his drink to be recognized, but not only recognized, he wants people to associate it with sports and feats of strength. Okay. He thinks that's a good market for his energy. His energy drink gives you energy. He helps you be better at sports.
Makes sense. Kind of a whole stamina. This will help you be at the top of your game kind of type.
Yeah, and he's so successful with marketing with sports and then the bars that his sales get so good that there's a demand, like a black market demand over in Germany, because Germany still doesn't approve it for sale, but people are doing it illicitly against the law because it's not approved.
Okay.
So the German government finds out about this, and then they finally approve it for sales in 1994. They order millions of cans to meet the demand for their people that are all hearing about this drink in Austria. Millions. So Dietrich is inundated with all these orders, and he doesn't have enough aluminum to supply the cans.
Oh no! So he went from having to give it away to now he's inundated and can't produce the cans fast.
Exactly, and people couldn't get it. And this was the Red Bull started disappearing off the shelves because it just there wasn't enough being made. And so this other company called White Horse Energy or something like that started up in Germany and overcame Red Bull for 3.5 years. They outperformed Red Bull. It took him, but after 3.5 to 4 years, Red Bull was number one again in Germany.
And that was all due to the fact that he couldn't get the cans that he wanted.
Right. They recognized Red Bull. He was sponsoring sports events. It was a better recognized brand, but people just couldn't get it.
Okay, so at this same point, while this is all going on in Europe, now I don't want to skip ahead too much, but from my understanding, in America, they were kind of gearing up to bring competition to this as well. So once Red Bull, in the late 90s, which would have been probably 96, 97, around that time, from my understanding, and if I'm skipping ahead.
No, we're right before that. So hold that thought because we're in 1995 now. Because 1995, Red Bull launches in Britain, but it fails miserably.
Okay.
So
the Brits like their tea. They do not like Red Bull.
Yeah, I don't know what their deal was. So it wasn't doing well. So Dietrich goes over there and fires the entire marketing team and then hires college students, pays them cash, gets them to drive these little mini Coopers with Red Bull cans on the top of them, strapped to the top of them, giant Red Bull cans. And then he pays these college students to go to their parties and give away the drink at the college parties.
And this is in Britain.
This is in Britain.
You know what's crazy is I've seen those minis here in the States.
Well, here there's mostly Volkswagen Beetles, but there are some minis that...
Yeah, I've seen a couple that have those big Red Bulls that are on the...
It's kind of a homage to the original marketing.
Exactly. That's pretty awesome. Okay, go ahead.
So there are $12 million in the red when he fires the marketing crew. But he makes that back and then doubles it in profit with this new method of the college students. The college students are going crazy.
So basically college students, they're needing the energy to stay up and study.
Yes.
They're needing the energy to stay up and party.
Helping them focus, making the party last longer. It's cool, it's mysterious, it's dangerous, it's associated with these extreme sports, right?
And the cans look pretty awesome too, the design.
And it's a premium product. See, it's key here that he doesn't lower his price because it's this premium product. And that's going to help him later on when he faces competition. When other people try to come to the market as a great value, Red Bull always holds his place as, hey, this is a premium product.
That makes sense.
Even though they're essentially the same thing, caffeine and sugar and taurine, which does basically nothing, but caffeine and sugar is really what does everything. And that's what all the energy drinks have. But people just think Red Bull is better because it's more expensive.
And I think the label and the branding of his look, the Red Bull and just...
go ahead.
I've never actually tasted a Red Bull myself, but I know that the cans just have an amazing look to them.
They're nice and clean and neat. But I think the reason you think that is because it's so popular. They sponsor so many things, you just see it everywhere.
Yeah, that could be true.
Like Coca-Cola. You think, I think Coca-Cola, and what you think about Coca-Cola is what they've sort of programmed you to think with all their advertising.
That's true.
They're everywhere. So the college parties was what set him off in Britain, and so now we're in 1996.
Okay, so now he decides that he's moving to America. Is that kind of what happens at that point?
He decides to break into the American market. He starts in Los Angeles.
Okay, so while he's coming to America to break into the American market, there was another company called Hanson Soda.
Yes.
Now, Hanson Soda... they kind of had this mom and pop, very homey,
very
wholesome kind of look to them, and so they decide that they would like to jump into the energy market.
That's right.
And so they hired the guy who had really just marketed Arizona Tea. Arizona Tea had just went off huge just a couple of years before that.
Right.
And so that guy's name was Mark Hall, and they wanted to pull him off of Arizona Tea and begin marketing for their Hanson sodas.
Mark Hall is a marketing genius. What he does later is amazing.
Yes.
Marketing Mark, I like to call him.
Yeah, so Mark is in Corona. He's also in California, California, and he meets with Rodney Sachs, who was the president and owner of this Hanson Sodas. or I'm sorry, Hansen Beverage is what they called it.
Okay.
And so Rodney Sachs decides, we've got to jump into this market. Why don't we hire this Mark Hall to do it? So they bring him on and basically just give him hands free, basically, to do what he feels. And so he comes out.
Mark Hall convinces them to kind of let undo their belt a little bit, so to speak, because they were very wholesome, very pure, and Mark had to explain to them, no, energy drinks are about danger and mystery and sports. The Hansen's tag isn't going to work for it.
No. So, but at that point, they had a beverage called the Beast. And that's what they originally started off with, if my understanding is correct. They started off with this beverage called the Beast.
Okay.
And the Beast was that first energy drink that came from Hansen Beverage. And it soared at first. And the reason it soared is because, if my understanding is correct, wasn't Red Bull having a little bit of a difficult time in the U.S., just like they had started off with originally as far as the marketing?
Well, they had the capital now, and they started out, their tactic when they hit the ground was buying Volkswagen Beetles, doing the giant Red Bull cans, and then marketing to colleges, giving it away at colleges and gyms. Now they expanded it, though, because it wasn't really a hit like it was in Britain at the colleges. So what they started doing is paying them to go to office buildings, sporting events, gyms, even construction sites to give it away.
Okay.
Because construction workers would say, they would start to recognize the brand, because what Red Bull started doing was sponsoring sports events again in the United States, just so people would recognize it. And then the people on the construction job would say, oh, yeah, I'll take one of those. It's free, might as well.
Yeah.
Then they have this energy. Now they want another one, so they go to the gas station, see the premium price, go ahead and pay it because they know it gives them energy. They think, oh, it helps me be productive, so I might as well drink it. It's worth it. It's a good return on my investment because I'm doing better work.
So, but I do believe before that, and correct me if I'm wrong, when they were marketing it into convenience stores, I believe that
it was brutal. Yeah.
Yes. Go ahead.
So when they would go to a convenience store, the convenience store would try to get them to do the typical thing where the beverage company would give them a free case, and then the grocery store would sell that free case and then see how well it does, and based on the demand, they would order more.
So that's what basically all beverage companies do.
That's what everybody did.
Okay, go ahead.
The Red Bull representatives did not do it that way. They said, okay, go ahead and pay us go ahead and buy this case, and then we'll get you started. And the owner would say, well, wait, aren't you going to give me a case for free? Like, no. And then the owner would say, all right, well, never mind, I guess I'll pass. And then the salesman would say, oh, no problem, man. You're going to be left in the dust. Everyone else is going to have it, and you won't. All right, see you later. And he would make them feel, these salesmen would make the store owners feel like they were going to miss out. So they would go ahead and buy it. Like, okay, oh, no, hold on. Okay, I'll buy it. And they were very shrewd salesmen. They were acting like their drink was just this outstanding thing.
It was like a can't miss type deal. You're going to miss your one moment of opportunity if you don't get this now.
It's a really effective sales tactic in something like this.
Now, Red Bull, just skipping back to that, Red Bull is so interesting to me in that the limited research that I did, there's a lot of rumors that came out about Red Bull, that it was made and it had bull semen in it,
right,
or that it had amphetamines in it, and stuff like that.
And then when they found out about this, Dietrich he didn't want to squash the rumors. He just said, let them say what they want to say. It adds to the mystery, it adds to the danger.
Yeah, it's like he didn't want to take them away. He stoked them almost, in a way.
Yeah, one reporter actually dubbed it the poor man's cocaine.
Wow.
And that was a label for it for a while, because it hit the United States in 1997, and it got real popular when he was marketed it to the gyms, nightclubs, bars, and construction sites. Okay,
so while Red Bull was doing that, the Beast took off.
Right.
And the Beast was just going bonanza for 1 year. It was the highest selling energy drink in America. The Beast was. Until the end of that year, for some reason, the wholesome look of Hansen Beverage began to catch up to it.
Yeah,
and
it couldn't compete with that sporty mystery
kind of, and so it began to die out. In fact, it died out to such a point that they were right at the verge of having to file bankruptcy. And that's when Mark Hall enters back in again.
Right. He does that really
And he
neat.
he comes back and he's like, look, I am not going, this is not working. The wholesome image is not it's not gonna stand. We're going to have to get a little bit on the edge. And isn't that when he comes out with the label, the logo, and the name of Monster Energy.
And it looks like the claws had torn a piece of cloth or something, and that's their logo.
Yes, that is just absolute. Now, okay, before we get too much into that, isn't it the same time, or very near, just a few years within this? So you have Red Bull doing its thing, you have Monster coming on strong doing its thing. Now, Rockstar.
Yeah, Rockstar makes its debut in 2001, so just a couple years later. But right before that, I want to talk about one of Mark's sales strategies.
Yes.
So this marketing Mark, as I like to call him, he goes to the X Games, which is a sporting event in Los Angeles.
Oh, this is awesome story.
I'm not sure where it's at, but I know it's at least in the Los Angeles area. So he goes to X Games, which is the motocross and dirt bikes and sports like that. He brings a briefcase of $25,000 cash, and he starts giving cash to the people, to the daredevils, to the dirt bike riders,
skateboarders.
Hey, if you'll wear this helmet that has the Monster logo on it, here's $500. And he'll just hand them cash, and everybody was sporting Monster helmets, Monster body armor, whatever they have to wear to their protective gear, stickers on their bikes. But yeah, man, they took the cash right on the spot and advertised Monster.
So basically, it was what genius because
I don't know if you can get away with that today. That's guerrilla marketing. He's guerrilla marketing to motorsports, and is just saying, "Hey, take the money. Here's a sticker."
Yeah, and basically, he recognizes that all these kids are going to be on television.
Yeah, I forgot they're really young. I forgot about that.
Yeah, they're super young. And so he knows, hey, they're going to be broadcasting this on television, the X Games. That's a big deal. And so he recognizes that everybody that looks is going to be seeing his logo everywhere. To be walking around with $25,000 in a briefcase. I mean, the guy is just, he's brilliant. And to go from there. Now, wasn't it as soon as he did that, he started off with the 25,000, but it wasn't long after that he was making millions in return.
Oh, yeah, he definitely made it back very quickly. In fact, Monster surpassed Red Bull for a short time, for about a year and a half in the United States. But that was after some other people had entered the market. Pepsi joined the market with AMP. They had an energy drink called AMP, and then Coca-Cola launched KMX. Probably never heard of it because it didn't fly. It didn't go anywhere. So
okay, pausing there, unless I'm skipping too far ahead, but let's talk about Rockstar just briefly.
Yeah, no, that's where we are, Rockstar.
Okay, so that was the summer of 2001,
right?
Is that correct? Okay, yeah. So summer of 2001, and this is in San Francisco?
Las Vegas, Russell Weiner, okay. And he rents this limousine, right?
And then puts, and it was a black limousine, and he puts like gold or a yellow, goldish, like star on it. And then isn't he like driving around like blaring rock music or something?
Yeah, he's standing up through the moonroof or sunroof, right? And he's standing up, he's passing out Monster energy drinks through the sunroof of the limousine.
Now, to be clear, isn't this Michael Savage's
Michael Savage's son? Yes.
The conservative talk show host? His son is
right.
The founder. Okay, that's funny in and of itself.
Russell Weiner is Michael Savage's son. Yes.
Okay, so this is summer of 2001. He's basically going around and he's got the rock music blaring.
Real quick, their marketing tactic. Rockstar's marketing tactic was value. So they had 16-ounce cans instead of 8-ounce cans like Red Bull. So you get double the drink for the same money. And they launched it, their price was $2 a can.
Oh, that's right, because his logo or slogan, was spend the same but get twice the energy.
Yes,
okay. So he basically, they're making a play, and do you know what they were marketing to at that point? Or
actually no, I just know that it was the value, and there is some controversy that comes up in a little bit because they get accused of marketing to teenagers.
Okay, all right. So now, kind of moving back to Monster in the 2004 timeframe. They were still reaching out to all of these ex-gamer
Daredevils, athletes,
okay,
yeah.
Rodeos, things like this.
Yeah, they were stealing the sales tactic that Red Bull had started with the extreme sports.
Gotcha. Okay.
But Red Bull was the master at it because they would wrap a helicopter in the Red Bull logo and then drop snowboarders on these not impossible, but these very dangerous snow peaks, and they would snowboard down the hill.
They were almost like making their own movies,
he paid them to make movies for Red Bull. Yeah,
so it
right.
was
But
Red Bull had
according to my research, they never drank a Red Bull energy drink. They never talked about Red Bull energy on the films they made. Mm-hmm. All there was the helicopter. It was all done up in Red Bull, and Red Bull was the sponsor, so you recognized the brand and associated it with extreme sports.
It's basically like Red Bull had kind of moved on from just being a drink to kind of being a movement,
right?
In a way. So
it was a cool thing to do. It was a premium product. It gave you energy. All the cool kids were drinking it at the parties, and they were staying up later. The guys at the construction site were drinking it to work longer.
So Red Bull kind of had this image that it was highfalutin in a way, mm-hmm. and yet Monster was kind of the common everyday.
Monster and Rockstar both did the 16-ounce cans.
Okay, so they were basically double for the same price, mm-hmm. or close to the same price. They were double, and from my understanding, Monster at that point in 2004 had $15 million that they were giving to a roster of action stars. They were giving out $15 million a year. However, $15 million a year was chump change compared to Red Bull, because Red Bull was giving out hundreds of millions of dollars.
Right. So fast forward to 2008. Monster strikes a deal with Anheuser-Busch. Anheuser-Busch is a brewing company. They make beer.
Okay.
So the brewing company agrees to be a distributor for Monster. So they start distributing. When they distribute it, they provide the aluminum, they provide the cans, right? Mm-hmm. And they distribute it for them. And this propelled Monster to be #1 in 2008. This is when they finally overtake Red Bull, when they have all the capital that Anheuser-Busch was able to provide them.
Gotcha. So Anheuser-Busch was huge. Now, during all this time, what's
amazing?
Even
so, after a year and a half, 2 years actually, 2 years later, 2010, Red Bull becomes #1. And here in 2020, Red Bull is still number one.
In fact, but what's amazing about it, so kind of going back a little bit to the marketing scheme, Monster in 2004, like I said, they spent $15 million. Red Bull was spending $100 million. But then Red Bull, I don't know the capital that they had was unbelievable, because they ended up buying a Formula One racing team and like changed it to the Red Bull Racing.
Yes.
And then they bought a European soccer, I believe it was European soccer club.
They're buying teams.
Yeah, they're buying teams. And then they bought a NASCAR racing team. And then, I believe an Indy team, and just American soccer team, and just all this stuff. And they're naming it like the New York Red Bulls. And so all the hundreds of millions of dollars that they were putting into branding, which is another whole topic in and of itself, but branding, just the whole idea and concept behind it, to where it was no longer just the drink. It was a lifestyle. And so Anheuser-Busch takes on Monster. Monster just rockets to the top, and then Red Bull rockets to the top. And so you have, and by the way, Pepsi ended up buying out Rockstar. So they had AMP and Rockstar as well. So they own both. PepsiCo owned both. And then Coke ended up...
Pepsi just bought Rockstar in March 2020.
Yes, I'm sorry.
For $3.8 billion.
That's right.
Billion with a B.
Yes.
So think about this. This is, I know I don't want to go too much into the weeds here, but 1 million seconds is 11 and a half days. 1 billion seconds is 31 years.
Unbelievable.
It's a massive number.
It is. And okay, so Pepsi company has Rockstar that they've purchased. And then
it might be 11 and a half days. I'm going from memory on that.
Okay.
So don't.
Well, my memory is a lot more faulty than yours. But then, now, isn't it true that Coke ended up buying a 16% share of Monster?
No, I didn't know that.
Yes. So Coke owns now. They had put out a energy drink called Coke Energy, and it was also not doing that great. And so they bought a 16% share of Monster Energy.
Wow.
And so they're huge. But and I know we could go into 5 Hour Energy, and
there's a couple of things. There's 5 Hour Energy. Then there's a controversy, which we can talk about for a little bit, is do you drink energy drinks? Why you do, why you don't, and some of the controversy about the there was a case where a 14-year-old girl died.
Yes. From
drinking a Monster Energy drink.
Yeah.
The story goes. Do you know the story?
Please tell me. I know parts of it, but I'd like to hear it.
She gets out of school. She goes to the gas station and she buys a Monster Energy drink, and then she drinks the whole thing. I believe it's one of the jumbo cans.
Okay, and she was 14 at this time.
14.
Wow. Okay, go ahead.
So drinks the whole thing and goes home, everything's all right. And then the next day, she grabs another one and drinks it, goes home, and while she's watching television, she has a heart attack and dies.
14 years old. Wow. So was there a pre-existing?
There was a pre-existing heart condition that was
undetected from birth.
It flared up because of the caffeine.
Gotcha. Okay.
So the family tried to sue Monster, but they were unsuccessful because Monster had a pretty good defense, and their defense was there's more caffeine in a grande Starbucks coffee than there are in our Monster Energy drinks. So that was a big deal, and it's really interesting because Red Bull was also involved in it. They drugged the other energy drink companies into this as well to accuse them of marketing to teenagers.
And this was Congress that was doing this, correct?
Yes, and Red Bull said, "Oh, we only sell 8-ounce energy drinks, and you guys are doing 16." Tell you what, if they agree to reduce all their drinks to 8 ounces, we'll be doing our part so people don't overdose on the caffeine. And Monster knew that was going to really hurt them because most of their marketing was, hey, twice as much for the same price.
Oh,
so
man.
Red Bull was pretty smart and very shrewd in the court proceedings, trying to, bring down the other companies with the new regulations.
Yeah, because that would
ultimately the only regulations that were done, I think they settled out of court, and then the regulations that were put in place were they would just put a little tag on their drink that says not for those under 18.
Which would have been quite the ordeal in that Monster and Rockstar were both, it could have appeared, let's put it that way, that they were marketing to these underage, younger.
Yeah, that's why this drug on for so long and so many things happened. And they were sponsoring the X Games and these motocross, and it turns out a lot of these people in the motocross are teenagers.
Yes.
They get pretty young.
So it appeared that they were really making a push for underaged Americans, basically.
Right.
And
so let's talk about today as we wrap this up. Do you drink energy drinks?
I have had some.
Okay. Like you haven't drank the whole thing, just tasted it?
Actually, I probably have never had an entire energy drink. And I really didn't have any till about 4 years ago. And I've never tried a Red Bull.
Okay.
And I've never tried a Rockstar.
Well, now that you know the truth and that it's all just sales hype, would you be willing to try a Red Bull or no? You're still not interested?
I'm really not interested, especially since the guy said that he knows it doesn't taste good. It's just for the fact of getting the energy. I don't know that I need any additional energy. I'm pretty hyper as it is.
All right. Well,
I will say this one thing. This is kind of, I know we need to close it out, but this is interesting.
Yeah.
This industry is a $59 billion a year industry globally. And so that tells you, to me, when I think about globally, I think about every individual in the world, and that tells you how wore down we feel in this era of time, with so many things that are vying for our time and so many stresses on our mind and the hours that we keep and the food that we eat. It is amazing to me how many people feel that they need energy, so much so that they spend $55 billion a year.
That's crazy.
Yes.
But it's interesting to note that most of the ingredients aren't scientifically proven to do a whole lot or much of anything. It's just hype and allure and advertising.
That's exactly right.
So you would get just as much energy from coffee with some sugar in it.
That's right. It's all branding. It's all marketing. But the fact that we have bought into it is pretty amazing.
Well, that's all we have for our energy drink topic. We're running out of time here. Let us know what you think, and we will see you next week. It's been fun, Don. I really enjoyed it.
I've enjoyed it too, Jonathan.
Once again, thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, don't forget to rate us 5 stars. If you have suggestions for shows you'd like to hear in the future, feel free to leave them in the comments. All right, guys, we'll see you next week.